Consider This with Carol Schrader is made possible with support from Bass & Associates, First Data Resources, and by Nebraskans for Public Television. Consider This with Carol Schrader, a news and information program recorded on the campus of the University of Nebraska at Omaha. From the Fireside Lounge in the Milo Bale Student Center, here is your host, Carol Schrader.
Hello and welcome back to UNO. This is a terrific week, the week before Christmas. We want to thank the folks at Rose Court at Eagle Run for helping us deck the halls, or at least the set, with something red. I also want to thank an old UNO stomping buddy, Cliff Hurd, better known as Omaha City Councilman Cliff Hurd, but we used to, in fact, we were looking right across, you folks can't see, but right across is the student government office here. And when we were in student government here, they had a little office.
Things have changed just a little bit around here.
A little bigger, a little more nicer. You know, they probably didn't have to steal furniture from the different parts of the building.
But it's nice to be here with you.
It sure is nice to be here with you. There's so much going on in city government. Just this past week, well, I mean, since it's almost New Year's, I'm just going to ask you about the bars.
Okay.
Let's just start off with the bars.
Okay.
Just kind of break. We were a little giddy here before, just reminiscing. You know, I see that the Metro is sort of split on leaving bars open a little extra on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, yeah.
And City Council in Omaha, as in I think Papillion as well, decided not a good idea to let those bars stay open a little later on New Year's Eve. Did you feel a little bit compelled to give it a chance?
A little bit, but we spent some time reflecting on the merits of that issue. The Bellevue City Council voted to let their bar stay open until 2 o'clock. You know, I think Sarpy County and Bellevue maybe have a little different situation to deal with than we do in the bigger metropolis area up here in the city of Omaha. They have kind of a little tougher reputation in Sarpy County with law enforcement that I think we all know.
Oh yeah, that 73-75 strip has great reputation.
You know, I certainly hope nobody from Omaha wants to go at 1 o'clock in the morning on New Year's Eve into Sarpy County. I don't think that would be a real wise idea. But
it occurred to me that if I was a city council member, and I'm not going to be, but if you extended the hour just this one time, and just one person died, and the public perception was, or the reality was, that it was because that bar was open a little later, or the timing.
I think we'd take a real beating on that, and there's no guarantee that that isn't exactly what would happen. And you know, this idea came late in the year. It came in kind of a fractured way. It started out as 4 or 5 bars, and it grew to, I think the last number was 51. That's
requesting.
Right, requesting. That's a small portion of the 600 establishments in the city, which brought about enforcement questions. The police department asked us not to pass this because they had not been given adequate notice and didn't feel that they could plan and staff for it, given the other issues of New Year's Eve. The fact that it's a big celebration night anyway. This is a special New Year's Eve with the Y2K issues.
Right,
and there's that air of uncertainty about what's going to happen at the stroke of 12. It just didn't weigh out. You know, it just wouldn't have been a good decision.
Yeah, it just weighed heavily on why take the chance.
Yeah, and I know several owners of bars. I think you know, my brother-in-law owns Polly's on Leavenworth Street. None of them were terribly excited about the idea. That means people have to work later, and the next day there's a lot of bowl games, and they got to get up and go right back to work. Just all in all, I just didn't think it was a good idea.
Well, you mentioned Y2K, and I know that because of the millennium, is separate from the Y2K, meaning the computer, possibly any problems that might arise. I mean, they're even concerned that phone service won't break down, but will slow down because of everybody calling and wishing
an overload.
You know, Happy New Year, and just seeing if it works, I suppose. And public safety, is a concern of being able to. I mean, my husband's a firefighter. You know that time is of the essence on anything. Does the city feel real confident that all its ducks are in a row?
Well, I think the city, at least what those in charge have said to the council, and we've certainly individually and as a group asked questions, a lot of questions all year and prior to this. The city has certainly put forward the effort to try to control all the circumstances that they can impact.
Foresee all those variables.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, that it's such a great unknown. I want to have confidence that we're ready. I have to rely on what I hear from the department heads, and they say we're ready. There'll be some extra staffing at the 911 center. Some of us will be out there at the stroke of 12, just to make sure that everything goes right.
You mentioned department heads. It's announced this week that Lou Diarco head up the finance department for, well, I think basically more or less since, there was George Richardson, George Ireland, and
Bill Miskell.
Bill Miskell, and Lou.
And Lou.
But Lou has been there forever in terms of knowing how to, and I don't mean in a politically bad sense, massage the figures, make sure everything is, everything balances and all that. He's going to be a loss.
He will be. Lou is a quality individual.
Even in your little tiffs with the mayor occasionally over budget issues, Lou appeared to be a straight shooter.
Yeah, one of those guys that you could rely on for the truth and accuracy. And in addition to him leaving, now Mike DeSelm is leaving and going to the county.
Douglas County. He took care of our snow removal and a lot of other roads issues.
Yeah, a real quality guy. Somebody I could always count on in my district. If I had an issue that I needed help with, I could call Mike and it would get attention. And there's rumors of more. I think that we're going to see some things change in the Dobb administration, and I don't know that that's going to be for the better or for the worse. I mean, right now it's kind of unknown.
Is it just, from the things that you know that might be coming our way, is that just a transition for people, or?
I'm not sure of the answer to that, okay? And I don't want to speculate as to why.
But we're talking department heads?
Department heads. But there's a certain critical mass of knowledgeable individuals that are necessary to make this great city work. And it's a shame to see people want to leave the public sector and go do other things when they're good people.
You're not going to give us any hints.
No, that wouldn't be fair.
And it's got to be on their time.
Right.
We talk about police, fire preparedness. Certainly the Police Fire Training Academy, the one that can't find a home.
The one that can't find a home.
The
but we keep trying.
Academy.
We keep trying.
When I think of the not in my backyard syndrome, and I'm not trying to show any disrespect for the people that live in that area who have, valid concerns. Certainly, I mean, just as a homeowner, I would feel, not knowing anything or knowing a lot, I'd still be concerned. It's not like when we think of not in my backyard, I think of nuclear power plants and dumps. Waste or whatever the fancy name for them is, dumps.
Well, some people think about sirens and trucks and gun ranges and smoke and fires and the like. And unfortunately, and this has been, I think, kind of a keynote issue and demonstrative of some of the issues that I kind of get me fluffed up a little bit.
What, because of the issue itself or how it's handled?
How it's handled, okay? If you saw the article in the newspaper, the interview with Mrs. Wenninghoff.
Yes, this is the family that moved one time.
Right, and now they're being
because
asked
of the
to move
Sorensen
again.
Expressway.
Right.
And now that they want to take their land for this.
Right. Within that article, I think you will find the essence of why so many people have become so cynical about politics and politicians. and it just crushed me to read that article. It's, you know, this woman has a family business, and big government is just from her perspective, going to steamroll right over the top of her. Nobody's listening to her, and then you expand out of that family, and you go to that quadrant of the county up there, the northwest area. This is the third site that's been selected in a relatively small area, and we have the same discussion for now the third time. And you know, you got to sit back and ask yourself, is anybody listening?
Okay, what would they need to listen to? Would they, obviously, you're going to listen to all the time the concerns that anyone would have about having
Right.
that, the establishment of a police fire training center,
Right.
you know, adjacent to their neighborhood.
Well, let me make a point about this. First of all, I don't want to be misinterpreted as being against better training facilities for our policemen and our firemen.
And have something maybe closer than Chadron. You
Yeah.
know, could we
Right,
locate it
right.
closer
Something-
to somebody's house
Yeah.
than Chadron?
Because those are essential needs that we have. And the council as a group and me individually, we all recognize that. You know, but, and it's not so much the not in my backyard thing. The question I'm asking is, does Omaha need to be a regional training facility? Is that the business that we want to put the city in? To be a regional training magnet for the surrounding states and this general area of the Midwest? If you embrace that idea, then you must have a campus the size of what's been proposed in order to accomplish that. If you don't embrace that idea, you can look at other ideas.
Okay, I'm glad you brought that up, because I have heard from the time that I asked Chief Jim Skinner if there was a plan in the works, and he denied it, for some sort of mega training academy. And it doesn't even have to be mega, just some consolidated police fire training center.
Right.
There was all kinds of talk about that it would be somewhat of a regional academy, that the smaller police forces and fire departments and that didn't have the training facility, that they could make use of it, and that we would recoup some of the, you know, the money in it. I mean, and it went on and on and on. But then I hear from some of these adjacent law enforcement and fire departments that they wouldn't be interested, that there's a, politically they don't feel friendly
Okay.
to Omaha to do that. Now,
Right.
we have task force, multi-county task force working on narcotics and everything. Is there something there that I'm not either getting straight or that is deeper than I'm even saying?
No, I don't think so. I don't
Is there
think.
some, I mean, is there some, do you really think they'd all come rushing to sign up to,
Well, I mean, that's what we're being told, that they will. Okay.
I mean, I don't know, they
you're
might be.
You're hearing that they won't, or you've heard in the past that they won't. What I guess I'm looking at is what facilities do we need to train the police in Omaha and the fire people in Omaha, and if somebody wants to join in, okay. I am not convinced that we have worked hard enough to find a suitable location, partnering with maybe another arm of the government, be it the state or the federal government, on land that perhaps is owned by one of those two entities, someplace out of the residential area of the city. You know, it's being said, well, this won't be harmful to the residential area, but the current fire training tower is in an industrial area. And I think that it needs to be in...
and they felt that one was inadequate.
Well, it's inadequate, but the site's okay.
Right.
The site's
But I mean,
okay.
in terms of, so if you looked at, I'm saying if you lived out near Wenninghoff Road and you said, well, gee, it wouldn't be any bigger than that, and they're going to do this and that and put trees up. But, you know, I mean, they're saying that one's inadequate, so that really doesn't give you a feel for what it might be like.
No, but we could go to the current site and rebuild that tower and put some classrooms down there and probably be okay. all right? But we could do better than that. I think the idea is we want to get the tower off of Abbott Drive because we're trying to clean
Oh,
up
absolutely.
the entrance to the
yeah,
city.
I mean, that makes good sense.
And I just think, Carol, that more needs to be done to investigate other opportunities. Okay, that's where I'm coming
Well,
from.
if it were a regional training facility, I guess my thought would be because of the proximity. I mean, we have a 5-county area here, including, I'm even talking about across the river if they needed training facilities.
Right.
Then that would possibly involve federal money. Then, I mean, you would think
Sure.
if you look at all the Red Oak, Shenandoah, Glenwood, Missouri Valley, you know, I mean.
Bellevue.
Well, I mean, if you were just looking at the other side of the river. Yeah, certainly Bellevue, Blair, Bennington, all that, you know, they're Washington County, that maybe what you're saying is you look at all the rural area where you can plan ahead, you know, what looks like it might be an industrial area down the road, or which is, I guess, what you're saying. Then why does it have to be in Omaha?
I don't think it has to be in Omaha. No, I think it should be somewhat convenient to Omaha.
Right.
Okay.
You know,
but it
near an
doesn't
interstate
have
or
to be in Omaha. And I'm hopeful that at some point in the near future, there'll be some news developing around an alternative site.
Are you saying that you and/or the rest of the city council is looking to push that, or you think the mayor's office is
Well, I am looking for one. Yeah.
actively pursuing
Yes.
some sort of brokering some new deal?
Some kind of alternative to the current site. I think it would be welcomed, and if it's the right one and the right deal could be put together, it would make a lot of sense to people.
With regard to the police and fire academy, and then we'll move on, you can see, though, the feasibility of a regional center. You just don't know if all the questions have been answered about supporting one, whether we can support one.
Well, I don't see.
Besides the funding.
I don't. I'm not going to grant you yes on the feasibility of a regional center, not yet, because no one has demonstrated to me how it would work. Would it cash flow?
Or what talks we've had with other agencies?
Yeah, I mean, who's interested? Who's going to come? You know, what's the cost? If we're going to put the city of Omaha into the training business, what's the impact to the budget? None of those things have been brought to the city council. All we've been asked to do is approve a site.
Well, you've also been asked to approve a survey, a study on race relations in Omaha. And you and other council members have expressed some concern about how, if this is a scientific study, looking, I guess the Committee on Race Relations,
The Mayor's Commission on Race Relations
has wanted to get a baseline study.
Right.
You know, something done by professional surveyors or pollsters. And I guess my gut feeling is that it looked on the surface, you know, I'm reading the newspaper just like you are, of course you have more information, that a legitimate agency or a private concern was going to do it. And I'm assuming that when they say a poll or a survey, that they'll use some scientific method. Now, but it seems to be at issue. Are you just looking for a written guarantee that that's the case, or?
No, I asked questions on that specific matter Tuesday, you know, and Monday. What was the scientific basis of the study? You know, what's the purpose of the study? I think the council's real concern is, what are we going to do with it? Okay, Frank Brown brought up a list of 15 studies that have been done on race relations or related subjects in the last 20 years in Omaha that are sitting on a shelf collecting dust. You know, data is great. I mean, you can collect data forever. The question is, what are you going to do with it? And so if we're going to have a benchmark measurement, then our question is, you know, why? Is there a plan to move us beyond those benchmarks? And if there is a plan, we'd like to see it.
What if I were to say that setting those other various and sundry surveys, questionnaires aside, which I don't know if you can, but just do that for a second.
Okay.
That you have to really know and have a legitimate agency do a thorough, I mean, you can't ask everyone in the city, but there are ways of sort of ferreting out that information.
Right.
You have to find it out in order to have a plan.
Yes. I'm not disagreeing with
Okay,
that.
all right.
I'm not disagreeing with that
so
at all.
you're that far on it.
Yeah. And,
assuming that they can't know in detail what they would do.
Right. And I think we asked some of the right questions. There are more questions for us to ask.
What were some of the
about
right
that.
questions?
Well, how is the survey going to be put together? You know, are the audiences that you're going to survey the right audiences? Who is going to pick the group that determines what the issues are, and who's going to be in that group?
And who's going to
Okay.
determine what the questions are?
That's right. And this was my point. When we're done with this, I think it needs to be defensible. And if I'm going to vote to spend money on it, then I want to understand the mechanics and the scientific basis of it so that I can defend it.
Have other cities, I mean, other cities have racial issues that are far larger than the ones we have here, not to minimize what we may or may not have. Have we done a survey of other cities? And
Not to my knowledge. And this was one of the unfortunate things on Tuesday, and it's a pattern that, you know, as a councilman I've kind of become used to. No one from the commission bothered to call me as a councilman and say, we have an issue coming before you next Tuesday. I'd like 15 minutes of your time to explain it to you. But, and I don't mean to be mean with the statement, so, you know, I had developers call me and say, I've got an issue on the city council agenda on Tuesday. I'd like to talk to you about it, so maybe you would vote for it. Now, race relations, development issues, I put race relations on a much higher global importance level than I do these development issues.
And they know, I'm not trying to be mean either, but they know enough to know that they need to take a little time and care so that you understand, not because you're Cliff Hurd, city council member.
And this, it's not political, you know. If I'm going to make a vote and I'm going to support a subject, I want the knowledge about it. And you know, there's 97 to 120 items on a typical city council agenda, and that's a lot of phone calls. Okay.
But you're willing.
I'm willing to listen. You
and
bet.
I'm sure
and
that's
so
a
are my
pattern on the
colleagues, I
council.
think.
You have one of your colleagues leaving to go work with Mayor Sabianzaldo.
Yes.
It's been all kinds of speculation as to if that's a good thing or not. Because, and since I don't know, I've been a council observer over the years, but in recent years I haven't observed it as closely.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a good thing in terms of the relationship that's been a little rocky, to say the least, between Mayor Dobb and the council?
Well, I'm hopeful that it would improve the relationship between the council and the mayor's office. But school's out on that. I don't know. You know, I'm going to miss Subby as a councilman. He came to me and asked me my opinion on his move. You know, I said, don't do it. Stay on the council. You're a valuable member of this council. He made his decision, and I wish him well. And you know, he's a friend. So we'll see how it turns out.
As regards your other colleagues that are not leaving, and the race relations thing, what circumstances would you vote for a race relations survey?
I would have voted on Tuesday. In fact, I was ready to vote.
For it?
Yeah, I was. But some of my other colleagues wanted to lay it over, and in the spirit of cooperation to try to move this thing forward, I voted with them, and I'm spending some time with them, and hopefully we'll get the information we need and we can go ahead.
Well, for someone who has expressed interest in running for mayor of this fine city, obviously race relations and a lot of other issues are important to you. What is it going to take for you to, and I don't know when in your heart of hearts if you've already decided to run for mayor, have you?
Well, I wish I could give you the announcement here, but in my heart of hearts, I've made a decision about what I'm going to do, and now it's a matter of, you know, when I make the announcement and how I make the announcement and the like.
Is it the typical political scenario, and I don't mean political in the bad way, that you have to, I mean, you know, Mayor Dobb has a war chest already, quite a war chest.
Yeah, and I mean, I hope he does. You know, I mean, it'll take money to win the election. People can debate how much money it will take to win the election. You know, I think there was a U.S. senator that spent $35 million in California and got beat soundly. And so I don't know that money is what the debate will be about.
But you do need money. I mean,
Yeah.
I know there are people out there who have money, the ones that you need to sort of get in line, you know, to get the others to fall into place.
Right.
And is that part of where you're at?
Yeah, it's part of what I'm trying to do, make the necessary contacts and build the support network of financial backers and supporters. And we're making progress on that. I'm satisfied with the progress I'm making. I'm not a declared candidate. I haven't had a fundraiser. So I'm pretty happy with the way things are going.
Okay,
I mean, you're talking to me like I'm a candidate. So
well,
apparently, so apparently I've made some progress.
well, whether you're a candidate or not,
Yeah.
we have just a couple minutes left. We're on the eve of the year 2000.
Yes.
I don't know if millenniums really are a benchmark for looking ahead, but we always do it at the end of the year anyway. So look ahead to what Cliff Hurd, be he city councilman or mayor or dog catcher, what you think are the important issues coming up.
Well, first, I want to look at my family, and I want to say that I hope my family has another great year. My family means a lot to me.
I know.
The city is, I think, on a good course. I think that there's a group of people in this city that are committed to seeing it progress. We struggle a lot. I think we struggle a lot more than we need to struggle.
Okay, just sound off a few areas that are really things you're really going to have your eye on in terms.
Well, the police fire training center is one. The budget is another. Moving the convention center forward is another. The riverfront development, a new approach to streets. We're going to have to focus on maintaining the status and progress that we've made with taxes. And looming on the horizon, which I think is the single greatest challenge to people in government in this city in the next century, is reorganizing how we do business.
I think that's all the way across the board, but government has a little extra work cut out for it. I want to thank you, Cliff, for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
Today. And of course, I want to thank Rose Court and Eagle Run for providing our lovely poinsettias. Have a great holiday season.
Consider This with Carol Schrader is made possible with support from Bass & Associates and First Data Resources.